Painters should know how to cut their own wood. It's a small, simple skill that can make a huge difference in what you can accomplish with your work. Hi, I'm Stephanie. I'm a painter. My college degree is in painting. I spent over a decade as an art teacher, and I'm passionate about helping artists and art appreciators become more creative. So, if you want to save some money and get a little bit creative too, we are going to go over tools and materials, cutting your own wood, and assembling the frame. If you're a painter, you know how expensive frames can be. Frames can cost hundreds of dollars, especially if they're large and non-standard sizes. When I started painting on wooden panels left over from home renovation projects, I needed non-standard frames, and I decided to take ownership of a solution. Now I know I can make any painting look finished, and I love experimenting with different types of wood and stains. This adds a whole new level of creativity and customization to the pieces that I'm making. If you're worried that this isn't for you, maybe you don't want to invest in an $80 chop saw, you could even use a handsaw that costs $8. I want you to feel empowered as a creative to branch out into new mediums, to customize your work, and to not have to spend a fortune every time you want a piece to look more presentable. All right, let's go. First up, tools and materials. I know this is cheesy, but safety first. Just like riding a bike with a helmet, it is the right thing to do. I don't always wear safety goggles when I'm using a saw and cutting wood, but this is a great story about unexpected accidents. I had an art teacher in high school who was working on a sculpture without safety goggles. His tool, I think it was a flathead screwdriver, got pried out of the sculpture, flung up into the ceiling, got stuck in the ceiling for a second, and when it fell down, it got him in the eye. You never know what could happen. When you're cutting wood, it could fly anywhere. So it's always a good idea to wear safety goggles. You could even wear sunglasses if you're in a pinch and you don't have any. After safety, we've got the tool, the saw. I got a decent chop saw because I use it for home renovation. It's $180, but you can find chop saws for about $80. If that's too much, go for a handsaw. They can be $8 or $10. You'll need a measuring tape, although you could just use your painting if you want to measure the wood based on the edges of your painting. You'll need a pencil to mark where you're going to cut. To attach the frames, I used to use a drill bit and then drill in a screw, but I've switched over to a nail gun now, which is another investment. Again, I have it because it's used for home renovations. I haven't done a lot of experimenting with a hammer and nail, but I think small screws are always a good way to go. If you've experimented with other means of attaching wood to wood panels or to canvases, let us know in the comments. You'll need sandpaper to make the edges nice. You may want a stain if you want to change the color of the wood, or a varnish if you want to seal it, make it water resistant, make it last longer. And then finally, you'll need the wood. If you're on a budget, here's a great hack. At Home Depot or any hardware store, there is a place that has all the extra pieces of wood from after people have cut larger pieces. Sometimes the employees there will let you take little scraps of wood, and you want something thin. You got to consider the depth of your painting. You can see here I used a really thick piece of wood, and it's actually like deeper than the wood panel that I painted on. If the free pile doesn't work out, there's always the paint section. You can get long paint stirrers, which are almost ready to go for the side of a canvas. You just have to make like one cut to get that handle part off. And those are about $1 for a 4-pack. Okay, now that you've got your supplies, let's talk about cutting wood. It's always a good idea to do this with someone else around in case of accidents. Put on your safety goggles, measure the wood that you're going to use as a frame against the painting, and remember, it's got 4 sides, so 2 sides are probably going to overlap. Right now, I'm not doing the diagonal edge. I do want to learn how to do that because that's a proper frame, but we are doing bare bones basic here. 2 sides will be longer, 2 sides will be shorter. When you measure your wood, remember to measure twice, cut once. If you're on a budget, you don't want to be out of the money you spent on that wood because you've messed up a dimension. Full disclosure, I've messed things up a million times. Craftsmanship is something that I'm working on. Mark your wood. Press it against your chop saw. Hold on tight with one hand. Don't put that hand near the blade. Pull the saw. Make sure it's running smoothly. Mine's plugged in. And remember that the saw can move backward and forward. So don't let that throw you off or let the saw tip. Bring the edge of the blade to the far edge of the wood. Cut down, and if you need to push the saw backwards a little, you can. Release the saw and wait till the blade has finished spinning. Grab your wood, measure it against your artwork, rinse and repeat. Now that you've cut your wood, it's time for number 3, assemble the frame. If you have small screws, make sure they're long enough to go through the wood that you're attaching as the frame and the wood of the canvas or the panel. Putting the screw directly into the wood before drilling a hole can make the wood split, especially if it's near the end. So get a small drill bit, drill a hole first, holding both pieces together, and then switch your bit and drill in your screw. Of course, small nails or even a nail gun will work too. And if you want to use wood glue to really make those seams tight, you can put wood glue on the corners and use a clamp to clamp it together. There are a lot of options for hanging hardware, but I'm gonna make a whole other video about that. One of the easiest things I found is to just buy the little piece of metal that has the teeth, and it has 2 ends that you put screws into, and you can attach that to the back. Here I've used screws and wire to DIY a little hanging wire on the back. But we'll talk more in the future about making your artwork gallery ready or even just ready to hang on the wall of your home. Sometimes I actually wait till after I've put the frame on to stain because I think, that unfinished wood isn't quite the look I'm going for. Let me make it a different color, make it kind of darker, depending on the piece. You also may run into an issue like this where the cut side is exposed and you'll need to restain that and make it match all the other sides. If you're experimenting with cutting your own wood and trying to make your own frames, remember to have someone else around. Go slow, measure twice, cut once, and add a little customization to your pieces. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear them in the comments, and please share about your framing projects and your woodworking projects in the comments as well. Make sure you subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time.